Y'all remember last season with the Indiana Fever, with Caitlin Clark's injuries, and how it kept becoming, oh, she's good to go. She's going to be ready to go next game. She's going to play next game. Oh, nope, sorry, not quite ready. But hey, you keep buying tickets, you keep showing up, and eventually, we promise, at some point during this season, she will actually play, and a few of you will be lucky enough to watch it. They may have just completely doomed their 2026 season. I did a video recently about their attendance, 3 games. It's plummeted. They're fifth in the league at home. And I get that it's early, but the trend is down. And they just went and completely screwed everything up. Put out their statement yesterday, their list, no injuries. Entire Indiana Fever team, no injuries. What did we just find out a couple of hours before game time? Caitlin Clark is out because of her back. But no. It's worse than that, you see. As reported here via Scott Agnes, the scribe, not reporter, for the Indiana Fever, just like so many of them. At this point, I'm starting to think the Indiana Fever cut a whole bunch of checks for a whole bunch of people based on what I'm seeing, the things that they're saying on X and the lies and the gaslighting and all this Stephanie White rah-rah BS. Money in the pocket. That's my feeling. That's my belief. I'm just saying I don't have any proof, but it sure looks like a coordinated PR effort from the Indiana Fever via so-called reporters and content creators. Caitlin Clark will not play tonight versus the Portland Fire. By the way, again, this came out about an hour to an hour and a half before game time. Tonight is the Fever's fourth game in 8 days, and Clark sitting out as part of the team's strategic management plan for the season, which, by the way, they didn't think this through because that makes it a million times worse. That means they knew at the very least that they knew when the schedule came out with Clark's back early in the season that, okay, this is where she's not going to play. I also think part of it was because, hey, we could play the Stephanie White way with the talent we have and probably beat this team. And that'll also hurt the Caitlin Clark is so good narrative. By the way, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. Truly appreciate all your support as always. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Maybe I just ruined it. Apologies if I did. Please like, comment, subscribe. I know you probably aren't even going to see this video because you're getting set to see the game and you're going to find out Caitlin Clark is not playing. Now, trust was broken last year by the Indiana Fever, which I think is part of the reason for the attendance nonsense this season because of the way they handled Caitlin Clark's injury and the fact that they kept not only withholding information, but basically in a way of lying by not saying anything, or there was some more straight up lying because I know I can't remember how many, but it got to the point where it would be, if not she's playing, but maybe she's most likely playing in the next game. And then it's like, well, oh no, psych, you got your tickets. Now that it's too late, as they're doing here, right? There's zero reason this could have not been announced a few days ago. At the very least, it probably could have been announced last week. I guarantee you, if this is load management, they absolutely should have announced it yesterday. Now, the other thing that popped into my mind, it's interesting that it comes after the game where you had the arguments with Stephanie White and you had the arguments with that clown January on the bench who kept going on and on and on to the point where Caitlin Clark actually got up from her seat, grabbed her blue pad that she's sitting on, and went all the way to the end of the bench to get away from the coach who was not shutting up and constantly yelling at her. Your star player, the MVP, the face of the league, never ever blame anybody else as Stephanie White does, right? She never singles out Caitlin Clark for praise. It's always the rest of the team is so absolutely amazing, but no, not so much when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Never going to give Caitlin Clark that kind of credit. Never going to give Caitlin Clark that kind of praise. And now this is a big F you to the fans. F you to the fans. I was trying to figure out how to phrase this. I was going to say, I'm not going to be surprised if the next home game goes even further down to maybe we get down to 10K. I was going to actually say, I hope that's what happens. But then I'll get those people, oh, you're so negative. Oh, my goodness. Oh, you only like Caitlin Clark. Oh, my. Is there any reason whatsoever to support this Fever organization? Seriously. I mean, even if you were an Indiana Fever fan, that means you should be a Caitlin Clark fan, you should recognize that Caitlin Clark is the key to success for the Indiana Fever. Therefore, if it's truly about being an Indiana Fever fan as opposed to pushing a pro Indiana Fever anti Caitlin Clark narrative, you should be pissed as hell about this. And you should also be like, hey, I hope attendance drops below 10K because they deserve it, because they need to be punished, because this is getting out of hand and ridiculous, and they're shoving it in your face. Now, you're not supposed to do it, but y'all know, you've probably seen it on TV. Maybe you've done it. The whole dogs, training dogs to not go in the house by shoving their nose into what they did, which is, by the way, not the way to train the dog. I'm just saying, as someone who spent his entire life with dogs, no, no, no. But that's what this feels like from the Indiana Fever. This was a big screw you. This was a big F you. This was a conscious decision to make sure y'all bought your tickets, because they knew, based on that trend of attendance, that many of you sure as hell were not going to buy tickets if you knew Caitlin Clark was out. Don't dare try and tell me different. I don't want to hear it from the Shills. I don't want to hear it from the Stephanie White cult. I don't want to hear anything about how you're trying to spin it. I do not care. I do not trust you. I will not listen to you. Nothing you say regarding this team is of any value. If you want to go down with that ship, you go down with that ship. All I know on the Candace, she was on the Candace Parker Aaliyah Boston podcast. She made no definitive statement about wanting to stay with the Indiana Fever past her contract. I'm just saying, let that sink in. But I want to get to the chef's kiss part of all this. For those of you that don't know, with the NBA, that had a huge problem with this load management BS, which was just an excuse for guys who get paid 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars in guaranteed money who didn't want to play all the games, and say, oh, we're load managing to prevent injury. And of course, that became a very, very big problem for this exact reason in the NBA. People pay to go see stars. When stars are constantly sitting and fans didn't know it, it became a huge problem with the NBA, to the point where they had to make rules. Okay, well, guess what? It seems that they probably put those rules in for the WNBA as well. And that's why we get this. The announcement also comes in direct violation of WNBA injury reporting requirements, which state all injuries and player absences must be reported by 5 p.m. local time the day prior to a game. WNBA teams must report information concerning player injuries, illnesses, other medical conditions, or rest for all WNBA games by 5 p.m. local time the day before a game other than the second day of a back-to-back. They haven't played since Sunday. Teams must designate a participation status and identify a specific injury, illness, other medical condition, or other reason for any player whose participation in the game may be affected for any reason. For the second game of a back-to-back, teams must report the above information by 1 p.m. local time on the day of the game. By the way, they even missed that, because we know this was a calculated decision by the Indiana Fever to say F you to the Caitlin Clark fans. We are going to get your money for tickets. We do not give a crap about you. We do not give a crap about Caitlin Clark. This is all about us grifting off of her and grifting because of you, grifting off of you, taking your hard-earned money and not giving a crap how you feel about it. I'm just saying. That is kind of the deal, right? That is kind of the deal we got going on. Oh yeah, I forgot I said this. Bullshit. Oh, I don't do that on this channel. This makes it even worse if the shill scribe is telling the truth. How do you report the no injuries yesterday? If you knew this was strategy, it should have been announced at the beginning of the season so people could buy tickets accordingly. This is loathsome behavior, and I stand by that statement. Wow, it's like 38 likes in like half an hour. Wow, for my tiny little thing. Yeah, people are pissed, man. This is going to have some serious fallout. It's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, y'all. Smash the like button, subscribe. Go have as good a day as you can have. I will talk to you later.